You know, what a person is like is a big deal. And I want to think about what Jesus is like, okay? And there's a lot of things can be said about that. I met a guy who was reasonably famous once. You may have heard the name Jerry Falwell. Back in the day, Jerry Falwell was super known. You go back into the 80s, got involved in politics. But I had a chance to go to a church growth conference one time, probably in about 2000, 2001, where Jerry Falwell was one of the speakers. I wanted to hear him speak. You know why? For over 2 decades, he was the pastor of the largest, fastest growing church in America. People never thought about that about Falwell. They just thought about his politics and stuff. But I wanted to hear what he did, and I did. So I went to this conference. The first night, first day, some other people spoke. The second day was devoted pretty much to Falwell, and it started with breakfast. I had breakfast with Falwell. And you know what? Just common as dirt. Just a nice guy, a pastor's heart, cared about his church, wanted the church to grow, reached people for Christ. Just a good guy. And I got to know what he was like. What would Jesus be like? Okay, think about that. So I met Jerry Falwell, had breakfast with him. Great guy. What's Jesus like? 2 verses in Revelation chapter 1 give us a pretty good feel for what Jesus is like. We'll develop 6 points quickly. Grace and peace to you from him who is, and who was, and who is to come, from the 7 spirits before his throne, and from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness, the firstborn from the dead, and the ruler of the kings of the earth. What is Jesus like? Well, first, he is, was, and is to come. If you are, you exist now. If you were, you existed at the beginning. And he did. He spoke the world into existence. And he is to come. He's coming back. You know what that says? He's eternal. He always has been because he was. He is now, and he will come. He is eternal. He is the faithful witness. How was he the faithful witness? Well, he came to earth on a mission from the Father to die on a cross to pay for our sin. He was the faithful witness to the Father's love because he died for us so that we could be restored to the Father. Thirdly, he's the firstborn from the dead. Now, there's some people raised from the dead by Jesus, Lazarus, for example, but they died again. Jesus was the firstborn from the dead, never to die again. He lives today and was raised from the dead in 33 AD, 1900 and almost 2,000 years ago. So that's unique about Jesus. He was the firstborn from the dead. Listen to this. He's the ruler. This is the fourth thing. He's the ruler of the kings of the earth. Some of them don't know it yet. Most of them don't know it yet. But he's going to rule them all when he comes back. There's absolutely no question about that. He is the ruler of the kings of the earth. He loves us. How did he prove that he loved us? He came down here. Folks, if a guy would die on a cross for you to pay for your sin and free you from it, he loves you. Nobody loves you like Jesus does. That's what he's like. He loves you. He crawled in the electric chair and paid the price for my sin and yours. That's all the cross was capital punishment in the day. He loves us because he died for us. And he freed us. This is the sixth thing. He freed us from our sin by his blood. His blood is the giving of his life, and it frees us from our sin. He gave his life, demonstrated by giving his blood, and lots of it. If you've ever seen The Passion of the Christ, you know what I'm talking about. And he freed us from our sin by we sinned against him. We violated him. What did he do? He died to free us from our sin. 6 things about Jesus, that what he's like. He's eternal. He is, he was, and is to come. He's the faithful witness. He came and finished the job for the Father, paid for our sin, was raised from the dead so we could be saved. He's the firstborn from the dead, the first guy raised from the dead, never to die again. He's the ruler of the kings of the earth. Most of them don't know it yet, but they will. He is King of kings and Lord of lords. He loves us, proved it by dying for us on the cross. And 6th, he freed us from our sin by his blood. There's a glimpse of what Jesus is like. You know what? Jerry Falwell is a good guy, but there's no one like Jesus. There's no one like Jesus. You know what? You can know him, receive him into your life. Tell him that you want to know him in a personal way and that you're a sinner and you recognize that. make that confession to him. Say, Jesus, I want you as my Lord and my Savior. And then go out and get baptized in the likeness of his death, his burial, and his resurrection, to say to him, Jesus, I trust you. You will be blessed and you will come to know him and know what he's like. Bless you. Have a great day.